at 6 o'clock Central Time in Baton Rouge, taking on an LSU team that was coming in 2-1 in the SEC. Ole Miss was also 2-1 in the SEC. Close game in the first half. LSU led it by 2 at the half, 35-33. But the Tigers outscored the Rebels 54-47 in the second half en route to a 9-point win, 89-80. LSU improved to 11-6 overall, 3-1 in conference play. Ole Miss 15-2, 2-2 in the SEC. Ole Miss had 4 players in double figures. Jalen Murray had 23 last night. Alan Flanagan had 20 on 5 of 17 shooting. He was also 0 of 5 from the three-point line. Matthew Morrell had 19, 1 of 6 from behind the arc. Jamin Brayfield had 13. Ole Miss got nothing out of the post as Musa Cisse and Jamarian Sharp combined to play 31 minutes with 1 point and 8 rebounds. That is not good from your 2 big men.
No. It's kind of who they are, though. I mean, you're really not going to get much offensively from either one of them. But
you are looking for rim protection and some rebounding.
Yeah, and you don't get much rebounding. I mean, they got out-rebounded again last night. And honestly, their shooting splits are bad, but they're better than they were most of the game, if we're being honest. They made some shots late that closed that gap. They built up a little bit of a lead in the first half and then made some mistakes, lazy passes, second chance points. The bench gave them nothing last night, 4 points. So the Ole Miss's bench scored just 2 more baskets than we all did in the game last night. So that was a problem, but had an opportunity.
My shot was just off, man.
To really kind of take control of the game and just turn it over and turn it over. And like they only had 10 in the game, I think, 10 turnovers. They were just very poorly timed turnovers in the first half.
A lot of live ball turnovers, which is just the worst kind.
Yeah, and led to easy baskets from LSU.
Borky, I think it's really simple though. Like there are a lot of there are individual things that you can point to. You can point to bench points, whatever. You know what the difference in the game was? Ole Miss's shooting last night compared to what they've done for the year. Ole Miss leads the SEC in three-point shooting. They are a 40% three-point shooting team. Last night they shot 25%. They were 6 of 24. And so if you add 4 threes to it and they go 10 of 24, which is about 40% roughly, and check the math on me if you want to, then they win the game.
Possibly.
And on the other side, LSU, who was not a good three-point shooting team to start conference play, in their first 2 games, they made only 9 threes in their first 2 SEC games. They made 10 last night. And they were 5 of 8 from behind the arc in the second half. Every time Ole Miss would mount a little run, it felt like LSU would hit a 3. And then even really, really late in the game, a minute and a half left, Ole Miss cut the lead to 5. They either got it to 4 or 5, and that was with a minute to go. So it was a 2-possession. Was it 4? Doesn't matter. It was either 4 or 5. And Ole Miss decides to play it straight up defensively. They played for a little bit of a trap in the backcourt. They get into the half court. What do? They allow LSU to dribble it down, trying to get one stop and then go make a basket and then see what happens. LSU dribbles it down. They go into their offense with about 9 seconds on the shot clock. Ole Miss handles the initial penetration well. They rotate off a screen, do a good job there, but they leave a man wide open in the corner. A point guard finds him, and the freshman for LSU, it was Mike Williams, I think, hit the 3. Ball game. LSU made big shots in pressure moments down the stretch, and they had a huge night from Jordan Wright, the Vanderbilt transfer. Boy, Vandy'd like to have him back. He had 27 points last night.
Yeah, and Ole Miss didn't. But even still, like, you're not going to have great shooting nights every night. And how can you win, on those nights when you're not shooting well from the outside? And they didn't do enough of that either. Just, as we say all the time, it's tough to win on the road. They made some lackadaisical. How did Zion say it? I don't remember, but I wish I still had that audio cut of Zion trying to say lackadaisical. Made some mistakes early in the first half that cost him. And you don't want to pick on one player, especially a player that has played well this season, but you're not, or you shouldn't anyway, have Flanigan be the guy that takes the most shots on your team. Having him have the most volume of shots is not always going to be a recipe that leads to wins. I mean, when you've got Murray, who's a good shooter, and Morrell, who's come on, and Brakefield, who's really improved his shot, I mean, Flanigan's experienced, and he gets to the basket, and he made all of his free throws last night, which it was important. It kept him in it. But, man, he can't be taking 17 shots when that is the most on your team. That's not the best recipe for success for that team.
Some of those misses ended up at the free throw line, where he was 10 of 10. Mm-hmm. He did some good things. But you're right. You need efficiency from Alan Flanigan. He's not the volume shooter you're looking for. So 20 points is nice from Flanigan, but you would prefer 14 points from him on 5 of 12, 4 of 11, something like that. Than taking as many shots as he did. Jalen Murray had a big night. Probably played the best of anybody last night for Ole Miss. 9 of 14 from the field, 4 of 7 shooting it. So, going back to our net conversation from earlier, Ole Miss's net falls 8 spots with that road loss last night. They go from 52 to 60. They're 15-2 overall. 1 quad 1 win, 1 quad 1 loss. It's fine, right? There are a bunch of opportunities remaining. Ole Miss has 14 games left in the regular season, and they're going to need to steal 1 or 2 on the road.
Yeah.
They have been a better team at home than they have been on the road, but odds are you're not going to go undefeated at home. Here's what Ole Miss has coming up. This weekend they go to Auburn. And, brother, that is a hard place to put. Tennessee when it's full, but Auburn and Tennessee right now are the 2 most difficult places to play in the SEC.
I'm curious to see how they handle that too, because they've been to Knoxville already. They got punched in the mouth in Knoxville too.
They did. It
was packed and loud. It was Saturday evening, right? And 22,000 people, and they got popped. So how do you respond? You played poorly in the midweek, and I mean, it still, despite the loss, feels like an absolute free shot, right? Like there's no expectations for this game, and losing that game is not going to hurt you. You looked at it, if you're doing WL on the schedule, you put an L next to that one. Yeah, road game at Auburn, you're not expecting to win that one. So
what happens after that? You come back home for Arkansas.
Huge game, and hopefully there can be a crowd, because of weather and ice and all that stuff.
It'll be fine by next Wednesday.
Good.
It'll be fine.
Aren't you guys expecting some more this weekend though? I saw some Weather Channel stuff.
It's going to be cold this weekend, but I don't know that there's
going
to be much more. It's just is the stuff that's here going to melt?
Because that's an extremely important basketball game next week, though.
Yep, 8:00 ESPNU. You need that one. And then a road trip to A&M, and then Mississippi State in a midweek game, and then Auburn on the weekend. So Ole Miss going to play Auburn twice in 2 weeks.
At least you get them at home. It's so we say it too much, but it's true. It's so hard to win on the road in college basketball.
Yeah. Ole Miss going to have to try and do what Mississippi State couldn't do. That's get one at South Carolina. That's on February the 6th. That's a winnable road game. Not saying it's easy, but that's one you can win on the road. Got to go to Kentucky. Hard place to play. There's only about 100 years worth of history telling you that is a hard place for all road opponents to play, and it is and has been an exceptionally hard place for Ole Miss to play over the course of time. Is it 2 wins in Lexington for Ole Miss all time?
I don't know.
Not much. So that's what's ahead for this Ole Miss basketball team. And I don't know what the number is because I don't know what the net rankings are going to look like. If they go 9-9 in the league, is that enough? Does that make you a tournament team if you play 500 basketball in the SEC? Is it going to take 10?
Joey Brackets thinks the SEC's getting 8 teams in. If that's the case, you probably get in at 9-9.
I would think so.
Yeah, 9-9 should get them in.
Sports.